Hi, Valerie Dawn here. In this video, I'm excited to show you how to create these graceful hand-knit lace gloves. Made with soft, luxurious wool and silk mohair yarns, they're perfect for adding a touch of elegance to an enchanted winter outing. I'll show you how to knit on 3 needles. I'll also show you this pretty lace pattern. It's much easier than it looks. We'll also show how to knit the thumb gusset, and also how to pick up all the stitches and knit each one of the fingers. For this project, there's 2 yarns here. This is a fingering weight number 1 or sock weight wool, and another strand is of this lace weight mohair. We put these strands together and knit them as one. And the needles we are going to use, there's a set of 3mm, which we use for the cuff. That's this part. The 3 1/4 for the fingers and the main part of the glove. Just to show you the yarns that I selected, the wool is a very soft gray and the mohair is a variegated, and they're in the same color family, and the lights in the mohair are a very close match to the solid, and they look really nice together. Here's the swatch I've knit. It is 7 stitches to the inch, which is the gauge that I want, and that is the stockinette stitch with 3 1/4mm needles. So you should knit a swatch like that to make sure you get the right tension. We start knitting these gloves at the cuff edge, and to start out with, cast on 52 stitches. I'm just going to show you my cast on method. That is my favorite. I just wrap it around my finger, put the needle in, and then throw your yarn around the needle like you're just going to knit. I'm a English style knitter. There are a number of different ways to cast on. You use whatever is your favorite, but try not to be too tight. The next step is to divide them across 3 needles. These don't divide evenly, so I'm just going to put 17, 17, and 18, and we'll adjust later for stitching the pattern. So you just pick up each one of your needles, and I'm going to start from this end and just slip 17 stitches on the first needle. Okay, that's 17 on the first needle, and pick up another needle and slip 17 on the next needle. I find it easiest to kind of put this on the top. It kind of causes some tension if it's on the bottom, but just place it wherever you find it most comfortable. So that's 1 and 17, and that will leave 18 on the 3rd needle, and that's what we have. Slide this one to the end and slide that one to the end. Don't let them slip off. Just move that out of the way. Look at it and make sure these are not twisted. Position them like this with your 4th needle, and pull this yarn a bit snug so you avoid a gap in between. I like to start with a purl. We're going to do purl 1 and then knit 1 through back loop. That first stitch is a little bit tight. I'm just going to tuck on that a bit and get some space for my needle. And you can slip it not off, but a little further to the point so you have some room to get that in. Okay, purl, and see how I'm pulling that quite snug, so I pull the 2 needles together and then knit 1 through back loop. And continue all along the first needle, purl and knit 1 through back loop. Now, since we're knitting with 2 strands of yarn together, be careful not to split them. You want to make sure you've got both strands on the needle there. See? Okay, we're getting to the end. Just purl 1 and knit 1 through back loop, and that's the first needle. To move on to the 2nd needle of the round, okay, our last stitch was a knit 1 through back loop, so we start with a purl. keep an eye on that because you don't want two of the same together because that'll mess up your ribbing. So it's purl and pull it a little bit snug. I like to start with a purl on the first stitch of the needle. I find I can tug it a little closer together to avoid a gap between the needles. Okay, so this purl, knit one through back loop, and continue across the second needle. We are almost to the end of the row. I move this needle behind this one. Sometimes I juggle them around just to find what feels the most comfortable. Knit one through back loop, and this one ends on a purl. And then we're on to the third needle, which is going to start with a knit one through back loop. Make sure you have enough space here so the stitches don't fall off. Knit one through back loop and purl. And I might move that to the back just because it might be a bit in my way. And continue across the third needle. Alright, we're down to the last two stitches. Purl one, knit through back loop, and we're around to the first needle. Now you'll know where your row ends because of this end. I don't find I need stitch markers on these because that's going to be really obvious which one is the beginning of the round. On the second round, we do the same thing, but I like to knit regular without the twist, just because that's the kind of look that I like. When you have every second row that you twist, it gives you a really pretty pattern, I think. Now you have a couple of other options. You could just knit straight every stitch or every row, or you could twist every knit, and that's your option. Start with the purl, pull your yarn a little snug to avoid a gap there between the needles, and purl one and a regular knit stitch all the way around the row. And that's the end of my second round, and I'm going to continue those two rounds for 2.5 inches. I've already completed the left glove. You'll see this fits my left hand. I'm working on the right glove. I have left a link in the description below if you'd like to download this pattern. Knit one of the gloves and then the pattern completely mirror image reverses for the other glove. I finished the 2.5 inches. For me, that was 24 rows. Now on the last ribbing row, we are going to increase 4 stitches evenly across. And to do that, we rib 11 stitches and make 1, and then rib 13 stitches, make 1, and we do that 2 times. And I'm just going to show you the make 1. It starts again with a purl. I just so happen to be on the twisted knit row. There's 1, 2, and 11. Now in the next one we make 1. Don't worry about twisting this one. You knit 1 stitch, so just insert knitwise your needle into the front and knit through that, but don't pull the back loop off. Bring your needle around and put it in the back loop and knit another one. That's how we make 1. Continue along, rib 13, make 1, and then rib 11, make 1, and then rib 13 and make 1. That will be the end of the row, and we will have 56 stitches. From here on, we switch to the 3.25 millimeter needles, double pointed needles, and these are the needles we'll finish the rest of the glove on. This is the right glove. I had already finished the left glove. The gray area means there are no stitches, and that is just a way to represent this graphically so that there's room as you increase for the thumb gusset. There's room on the graph for the stitches that we increase. There's 4 rows to the lace pattern. It's a very simple pattern. The first row is just knit 2, purl 1, and then the next row is a purl, knit 2 together, yarn over. The third row is the same as the first, where it's just knit 2, purl 1 all the way around, and then the fourth row is it's purl 1, yarn around needle. This is a slip 1 knit one, and then you pass that slip stitch over, and that gives you this pretty lace pattern where the knit two together is a right leaning, and the slip one, knit one PSSO leans left. So it gives you a nice pattern all the way up. The yarn overs give you the little holes in the work, which looks very nice and lacy. Always knit these stitches in the thumb gusset. That's the purl stitch on either side, and these are the increases. They're just a little purl-like knot on either side. And we increase on either side of the thumb gusset every third row. Start each needle like on the first knit of the knit two. I find it's easier that the yarn round needle is easier to do if it's the first thing we do on each needle. So we'll make that adjustment as we go. So the first row is knit 2, purl 1, and then we have knit 4 for the thumb and 4, and then we purl 1 for the other side of the thumb, and then continue the knit 2, purl 1 all the way around. As you change each needle, don't forget to pick up and use your 3¼ millimeter needles. I just wanted to show you what I mean, that the first stitch of each needle is this one of these knit stitches. Alright, so I've gotten to the end of the first needle. I have a knit 2, purl 1, and then I have a knit 2. I want the purl 1 on this needle, so I'm just going to adjust this. Move that over to here so that it's the last stitch of the first needle, and I'm starting with a knit, the first knit of the knit 2. Next, round 2 is where we start the lace pattern. We're going to knit 2 together, yarn round needle, purl 1. So that's just straightforward, knit 2 together, and then yarn round needle and purl 1. We do our first increase for the thumb. Remember to bring your yarn forward so you don't accidentally make a stitch. Knit 1, and then make 1 where we knit in the front and the back, and knit 2 and purl 1. Then we start our lace pattern all the way around. Remember to bring your yarn forward. Knit 2 together, yarn round needle, purl 1. Yarn round needle, purl 1, and repeat that all the way around. We're ready to work round 3. It has 57 stitches because we increased 1 on round 2. And this is the same lace pattern as round 1. Knit 2, purl 1, and then it's knit 5 over the thumb gusset, and then purl 1 and knit 2 all the way around again. And you'll notice that we're knitting into that yarn round needle from the previous round, which leaves us a little lacy hole. Now we're on the 4th round. This begins with a yarn round needle and a slip 1, knit 1, pass, slip stitch over. So let's see how we do that. That's why I wanted this to be the first knit of the knit 2, because to do the yarn round needle, place it over the needle like that, slip this stitch as though you're going to purl it, and then knit the second stitch, and then I'll get that needle out of the way. Pick it up with your needle and pass it over so that it leans left. I'll show you another one on the other side of the thumb so you can see it without this needle in the way. And then there's a purl. Whoops, let me pick those up again. I'm just going to show you how I recover from that, because it pulled my stitches out. Okay, so I just put them back on my needle. Let's do that again. Put that over, slip that as though you're going to purl, knit this one, pass that slip stitch over, and then we do a purl, round we do 5. There's no increases on the thumb gusset in this row. We just knit 5, purl 1, leave your yarn on this side, slip, knit, and grab that slipped stitch and pull it over, and you'll see there's our yarn round needle and our left leaning PSSO. And we continue that all the way around. Just a tip on how to make sure you don't lose your place as you're following a pattern. I like to get one of these little sticky flags, any brand will do, and they're re-stickable. And as you finish a row, just move your sticky flag to the next spot, so that if you have to put your work down and come back later, you'll know where you left off. Make sure that you remember to change it on each row. I have a link in the description below where you can download this pattern for free. The left glove, the thumb gusset, will be over on this side. Everything is reverse mirror image, so be sure to download that pattern. Round 5, it's a knit 2, purl 1, and the next stitch is the make 1, knit 2, and then we do our make 1 again, and then knit 1 and purl 1. Now I just want to show you what's going on with that. So on the right side of the increases, we do the make 1 in the very first stitch, because when you look at it afterwards, you see that nice little knit, and then it looks like a little purl, which was our increase. And then we stitch over to the second, we do the make 1 in the second stitch from the end, because then that little purl will be right next to the final knit 1, so that they they look the same on either side. So that's why we have a single knit stitch here at the end of the thumb gusset. We just continue on with our knit 2, purl 1 all the way around. I finished round 5, and from there I'm going to leave you to your own devices to follow each round of the pattern. There's nothing new from there all the way up the thumb gusset. There are 7 increase row rounds. So once you have 17 stitches for the thumb gusset, proceed on for 5 more rounds with no increases. I'll show you how to put these on a stitch holder and a cast on, and then we'll just continue up the remainder of the glove. I have finished the thumb gusset, so we are on this round 26. That X symbol means put the stitch on a holder, and this little curve symbol means cast on. We start with knit 2 together, yarn round needle, purl 1. There's my knit 2 together, yarn round needle, purl 1. Now slide that up there so these don't fall off. I like to use a tapestry needle, sometimes called a darning needle. It's a very blunt end, and I have a piece of yarn to hold my stitches on. So just thread that, slip the next 17 stitches onto this needle. Okay, there's 17, and I'm just going to pull this thread, this yarn through. There I have 17 stitches on a holder for the thumb. Okay, now the next step is to cast on 5 stitches. So that becomes the start of the thumb, like I have on my left one, and I'll cast on 5 stitches, which is behind the thumb here on the main section of the glove. So I just do a simple cast on, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then continue in the pattern all the way around. And that starts over here with purl 1, knit 2 together, yarn round needle, and continue that all the way around. So purl 1 and knit 2 together, yarn round needle, and purl, and continue that pattern all the way around. And I'm going to finish that and be right back. Well, I finished that round. Here we continue on in our pattern, the 4-row pattern, until we hit round 43. This is the plain row where we knit 2, purl 1. Just very carefully and knit these cast on stitches. So that's knit 2, purl 1. I'm just going to wiggle that in there and make enough room to get my needle into the stitch to do the purl, and then knit 2, and purl 1, and continue in the pattern around that round. Continue following our 4 pattern rows until you get to round 43. I have finished the lace pattern up to where we begin separating for the fingers. Here's the row that we're at. Now, if you lost your place, you can figure out where you're at by looking, like comparing the pattern to the lace, and you'll see this left leaning means it's the slip 1 knit 1 PSSO, and the right leaning is the knit 2 together. So there should be 1, 2, 3, 4 right leaning rows. Let's take a look at the lace. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 right leaning rows, and the final one is our knit 2 purl 1, the plain row of the pattern. And the other thing you want to do is, we've got enough knit here that you can try this on and just make sure that comes up to the base of your fingers. The first finger is going to have 18 stitches, and these are all knit. We are done doing the lace pattern and we're doing a straight knit stitch. You'll need a piece of yarn and the darning needle again. For the first finger, knit 8 from the first needle, and that's just straight knit. So 1, 8, and then slip all except the last 8 stitches of the round onto a piece of yarn. We're going to slip all of these stitches and all of these stitches and most of these stitches on this yarn, and just leave the last 8 for the first finger, and slip these purlwise onto the thread. Just set that needle aside. I'm going to pull this through. Be really careful you don't pull the yarn all the way through. And same with the second needle. Set that needle aside for a few minutes, and then to the third needle. We want to leave 8 stitches on here. 2, 4, 6, 8. So that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 that we put on the thread. Just take that off, set it aside, and we're just going to leave that thread. And we're going to start knitting the first finger. You divide it again between 3 needles. There's 18 stitches, so that's 6 stitches per needle. Cast on 2 stitches and then knit the last 8 stitches of the round. I'm going to juggle these around a little bit. So 2, 4, 6. These 2 stitches I'm going to put onto this needle. And then I'm going to cast on 2. Just a simple cast on like we did for the thumb. 1, 2. And then I want to put 2 of these stitches on the second needle, so I'll slip them onto here first, just so I get these balanced there. And begin knitting in rounds. Just pull that fairly snug, try and avoid so you don't have gaps. And then I knit these to 6 stitches. By the way, this is with the 3.25 millimeter needles. We keep the larger needles. Here's our cast on. Just be careful not to drop them. It's straightforward from here. Keep knitting in the round until you have approximately 2 3/4 inches for the first finger. And I'll be back once I'm ready to tie off the end of this finger. And it doesn't take very long to finish these fingers because there's only 18 stitches, so it goes fast. And just to double check that it's long enough, just try it on and make sure that the stitches come right to the tip of your finger. And the last row to finish off is we simply knit 2 together 9 times. Snip the yarn and draw it through. Pretty straightforward. Knit 2 together all the way around. That just draws it in at the top. leave a little end so that you have enough to easily tie it in. Thread your darning needle and slip it through each one of the stitches. And there's the last 3 stitches. Now I'm not going to tie this in right now. I'm just going to draw that tight, and later on we'll thread the ends through the middle ends to tie them in. I hope the first finger went well for you. And now we're ready to start on the second finger. We are going to be knitting on 20 stitches for the second finger. The first thing we do though is we're going to pick up and knit 3 stitches right along here, which is the base of the first finger. And that's where on the last round we cast on 2 stitches. So I'm going to pick up 3 stitches. Give yourself a bit of a tail there so you have enough to sew that in later once you're done knitting. And I'm just going to pick up 3 stitches right in these. Okay, there's 1, and I like to pick up 2 threads. It just makes it a little more secure. And there's 2. And there's 3. After that, we knit the next 7 stitches from the holder. So I'm going to pick up another needle here and transfer 7 stitches onto the needle from the thread. Pull that thread out. Now we have 20 stitches, so that's 7, 7, and 6. 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to balance these. So that's 3. I'm going to knit 4 onto this needle. So I have a total of 7 on this needle. And there's 7. Okay, now pick up another needle, continue knitting, knit the other 3. Cast on 3 stitches. So here's 1, 2, 3. And you go all the way to the end of the thread. The stitches that are right beside the first finger, right here. Slip 7 of those. There's 2, 4, 6, 7. So that means we start from this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's 6. Now you'll see they might get a little tight here. So just pull that out a bit so you can get a hold of it. See, and then just pull your yarn up so you can get your needle into that stitch. Be real careful you're not going to drop it, and try not to split the yarn there. Okay, so from there I just pull the yarn out of those stitches, but make sure you've got the stitches securely on your needle before you pull this yarn out. I'm going to put one of them on this needle. So I have 7, 7, and 6. So there's 6 left on that. And I'm going to knit this on this needle. Again, be careful you don't drop the stitches. Okay. And then knit these 6, 5, and 6. And then you begin knitting in rounds. Insert right there. There's 1. Just continue knitting this finger for about 3 inches, but remember to try it on and make sure it's the right size or the right length for your fingers. Second needle, this is the one where we cast on the stitches. Just be careful as you pick up and knit those stitches that they don't fall off. And now I'm on the 3rd needle. Just continue knitting like that. I'll be back in a bit after I finish my 3 inches. Here's the finished second finger. The 3 inches fits me, but knit what you need. And here we just knit 2 together all the way around. And then we'll tie it off the same as we did with the first finger. And pull that tight. There's going to be 19 stitches for this finger. pick up 3 stitches at the base of the second finger, and I'm going to do that, I think, right here. I like to slip that through a couple of stitches so it's a little more secure. There's 3, and then knit the next 7 stitches from the holder. And like we did with the last one, pick up 7 stitches. 6 and 7. I'll pull the thread out. 6. Just to balance this, I'm going to put 7 on this and 6 on the other 2. Knit these 3. Cast on 3. What you're doing is picking up 6 stitches from the end of the holder. So the stitches that are closest to the second finger. 1, 2, 3, 6, and then pull the thread out. So there's 2, 4, 6, and I think I would like to pick one off of there. That's 7. I have 5 stitches on the other needle. That's fine. Continue knitting in the round for about 2.5 inches, or whatever is right for you. And that finishes the third finger. You'll note that there's a uneven number of stitches. I just knit 2 together all the way around and then knit the 1 single and draw the yarn through. And we're on to the 4th finger. This goes around the edge of the hand. There are 14 stitches remaining, and we're going to cast on 3 at the base of the 3rd finger right there. So I'm going to just pick up these stitches on my needles first. We're going to pick up 3 stitches now. So same as we did for the others. I'm going to do one right there. Make sure you get the right end. 2, and the last one. Okay, 3. Continue knitting in the round for 2 1/4 inches, or again, whatever is just right for you. There, that didn't take long. Our 4 fingers are finished, and all that's remaining is the thumb. It's really done the same way as the fingers. We're going to pick up 5 stitches along here. Let's start right about there and pull that through. Make sure you get the right end. There's 1, 3, 4, 5. That looks like a good spot right there. 2, that's right into the lace. I'm going to go right over here. 3, 4, and then I'm going to skip that lace hole again and stitch right into there. We've got our 5 stitches picked up, and we divide the 17 stitches that we have on the holder on our other needles. There's 2, 6. We can adjust these after we get them all on the needles to balance them if you want, although that's not that important. Let's go 7 there. 1, 2, 3. I've got to go 4 there. 2. I'm going to pull that thread out. So you see what happens is the stitches kind of start to want to pull through. So you don't let that thread let go. We'll pull that up. There's 1 more, and I'm down to the last stitch. And I'll just help pull it up with the yarn and get my needle right in there, and then just set that aside. This is the yarn that I started with, so I'm going to pull it through inside and get it out of my way. I'm going to put the ones I picked up and these last 4 stitches, I'm going to put them all on the same needle. So let me just turn that around, and I'm just going to transfer these all to the same needle. Let's see what we have here. 2, 4, 6 on that one, 2, 4, 6, 7, and we're going to decrease a couple of stitches once we get back around there. Now there's a bit of a gap here. Pull your yarn snugly once you start knitting on that next needle. We're back to the first needle. Now just knit those 4 stitches. We don't need to decrease anything there, but we're going to decrease a couple of stitches over the stitches that we picked up. We're going to do that 2 times. So knit 2 together twice. Knit those 2 together. And if you want, you can knit 1 and then knit 2 together. I have 20 stitches. Continue knitting in the round for about 2 1/4 inches or whatever fits your thumb, and then knit 2 together 10 times and pull the yarn through. We have one final step, and that's to sew in all of these ends. And the easiest way to do that is to turn the glove inside out. Now we have to bring those threads to the to this side, reach inside and find one of those threads. I just need to feed it right through. See right there? I just need to put it through that hole. And we have it to this side. I'm going to sew it back through all the stitches. I just need to find out which direction it's going in so that I don't actually like undo it. And I believe it's going that way. I can just start feeding it through the stitches again all the way around so that that is closed up nice and snug. And I'm going to do a couple of back stitches and then sew it through again. And I'm going to draw it all the way through again. I don't want this to come apart. And just pull it through a few more stitches, another couple of back stitches, and then I'm just going to thread it through a few more stitches and snip it. And I'm just going to snip that end. We also have the threads that we joined at the base of the fingers. We know we have holes here that are part of the lace, but you might want to close it in slightly. I'm just going to thread through those. Don't pull it too tight so it doesn't, pucker. I'm going to do a little back stitch, and then I'm going to feed it through some of the stitches we picked up. And then do some back stitches and another one, and then I'm just going to feed it back through some stitches and snip it off. There. And I'm just going to snip that yarn. Alright, so just stitch in all of the so just go around all of your loose threads as well down at the cuff. That completes this tutorial on how to knit these very pretty soft lace gloves. There is a link in the description where you can download the pattern from my website, and I hope you enjoyed making these gloves with me. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.